Building on that, the focus now shifts to his daughter, whose long silence has kept the public guessing. After years of speculation and unanswered questions, she has finally spoken out, revealing details that challenge the widely accepted story of her father's involvement. Her confession sheds new light on the events surrounding her mother's death, and suggests there are aspects previously hidden from the public eye. People are now re-evaluating what they thought they knew, questioning whether the evidence was interpreted correctly or if critical pieces have been overlooked. Her words carry weight because they come from someone with direct ties to the case, and her account conflicts with the official narrative that was built over the years. As the story unfolds, it forces the media and the public to confront uncomfortable truths and consider whether justice was truly served. The revelation marks a turning point in the ongoing saga, leaving many eager to learn what she has disclosed. It also raises new questions about the circumstances that led to that tragic night, and whether all the facts have now finally come to light. Certainly, Orenthal James Simpson was born on July 9, 1947. He is commonly called O.J. Simpson. He is an American who was a star football player, actor, and broadcaster. Simpson played in the National Football League for 11 seasons. Most of his time was with the Buffalo Bills. During his career on the field, he was considered one of the greatest running backs ever. Once very popular with the American public, Simpson's fame changed after a trial. He was controversially found not guilty for the murders of his former wife Nicole Brown and her friend Ron Goldman. Simpson's rise to fame began in high school, where he played football. He then played college football for the USC Trojans. In college, he was very successful and won the Heisman Trophy in his last year. The Buffalo Bills picked him first overall in the 1969 NFL-AFL draft. During 9 seasons with the Bills, Simpson received 5 Pro Bowl and first-team All-Pro selections from 1972 to 1976. He led the league in rushing yards 4 times, scored rushing touchdowns twice, and led in total points scored in 1975. In 1973, he became the first NFL player to rush for more than 2,000 yards in a single season, earning him the NFL Most Valuable Player award. He is the only NFL player to have done so in a 14-game regular season. Simpson still holds the record for the single-season yards per game average at 43.1 yards. After his time with the Bills, he finished his playing career with the San Francisco 49ers in 1979. After retiring from football, Simpson turned to acting and broadcasting. He was inducted into both the College Football Hall of Fame in 1983 and the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1985. Over his career, he gained a total of over 11,200 rushing yards, making him second on the NFL's all-time rushing list at that time. When he retired, he was ranked 21st. Simpson was named NFL Player of the Year in 1973 and played in 6 Pro Bowls from 1972 to 1976. He averaged about 1,540 rushing yards per 14-game season with 5.1 yards per carry. Simpson also won the NFL rushing title 4 times. In 2019, he was named to the NFL's 100th anniversary all-time team. Early in his career, he occasionally returned kickoffs, finishing with 33 returns for about 990 yards and 1 touchdown, averaging around 30 yards per return. During his Hall of Fame career of 11 seasons, he played only 1 playoff game in 1974, where the Buffalo Bills lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That game saw Simpson rush for 49 yards on 15 carries, and he caught 3 passes for 37 yards and a touchdown. Simpson earned the nickname Juice, which plays on his initials OJ. Juice is also a word for orange juice, but colloquially it means power or energy, symbolizing his strength. The Bills' offensive line was once called the Electric Company because of Simpson's popularity and his team's power. After finding love at an early age, O.J. Simpson married his childhood sweetheart, Margarita White, when they were both just 19 years old. They met in high school before O.J. even considered pursuing football seriously. Football was one of his passions, and he also made a name for himself in the movie industry. However, balancing these careers proved difficult for his marriage. The couple had been together for about a year before O.J. received his first major award, the Heisman Trophy, in 1968. Their marriage lasted more than 10 years, and produced 3 children: Arnell, born in 1968, Jason in 1977, and Aaron in 1977. Like many marriages, theirs faced challenges that eventually led to problems. O.J.'s busy schedule kept him away from home much of the time. He lived alone in a large house in Buffalo, while Margarita managed their home in Brentwood. As O.J. gained more fame in football and movies, their relationship suffered. Margarita kept out of the public eye, unlike her husband, who found it hard to disconnect from his celebrity lifestyle. O.J. remembered that they couldn't walk down the street without fans and cameras crowding them, which added stress to their marriage. After O.J. won the Heisman and landed a $650,000 contract, he moved his family to New York, settling in Amherst. Margarita kept herself busy with different activities, while O.J. advanced as an NFL star. Still, their relationship faced difficulties, and a 1995 interview with Whitney revealed they often pushed each other to their limits. They officially divorced in March 1979, and by June 1980, it was clear their marriage had broken down completely. Reports indicated Margarita even threatened violence and called the police over disputes related to the Brentwood home. Besides O.J.'s fame and busy schedule, issues like infidelity and ego contributed to the end of their marriage. O.J.'s constant affairs and pride created friction, leading to multiple separations during the early 1970s. After their separation, Margarita moved from their Brentwood house with her children to San Francisco, where she met and fell in love with Louis Rudolph, a transit supervisor. They married in July 1986, but unresolved conflicts led to their divorce 5 years later in 1991. Margarita, who became an interior designer, later married her third husband, Thomas. She eventually reappeared to support O.J. during his murder trials. Since O.J. Simpson met and became involved with Nicole Brown 2 years before his first marriage ended, their relationship developed quickly according to reports from the LA Times. Nicole was only 18 years old when she started working at a well-known nightclub called the Daisy, a place that O.J. often visited. Her cousin said that their romance grew like wildfire, and despite the significant age gap, O.J.'s athletic heart was drawn to Nicole. However, O.J. was no longer the same man he had been before. The stresses of his first marriage and divorce seemed to have changed him. A few months into dating Nicole, he started with a simple suggestion that she drop out of school and move in with him. This suggestion soon turned into a more forceful demand. The couple got married in 1985, and their marriage lasted 7 years. During those years, they had 2 children, Justin Ryan and Sydney Brooke. At first, O.J. publicly praised Nicole, saying she had made his life better, especially during important moments in his career. But behind the scenes, troubling signs appeared. O.J.'s controlling nature became obvious, as he was very possessive of Nicole, and had difficulty letting her out of his sight. Family and friends later revealed that Nicole was often cut off from the outside world while married to O.J. No one knows for sure whether this was meant to prevent her from seeking a way out, or simply an overprotective change in O.J.'s behavior. Sadly, this control sometimes turned violent, and reports later indicated that O.J. physically abused Nicole on many occasions. Sometimes Nicole called the police after these alleged assaults. One report stating that O.J. was heard yelling about not wanting her in his bed anymore. Despite these serious accusations, O.J. was arrested only once, and managed to defend himself against charges of domestic violence, leaving many questions unanswered about their troubled marriage. O.J.'s alleged abuse of his wife, Nicole Brown, seemed to persist for a long time, with Nicole frequently accusing him of mistreatment. Despite these allegations, Nicole's family, particularly her father Louis, supposedly urged her to find a middle ground in her marriage and reconcile with O.J. This advice was believed to have been driven by Louis's financial interests, as O.J. had made a profitable investment on Louis's behalf, which increased the family's wealth. The idea of losing this financial support in the event of a divorce led Louis to encourage Nicole to stay in the marriage. Nicole herself revealed that the abuse often stemmed from confronting O.J. about his numerous affairs. He was said to be indifferent to his infidelity, openly admitting to an affair with Tony Cayenne that lasted for a year, during the time Nicole was pregnant with her child. Additionally, rumors circulated about a potential romantic involvement between O.J. and Kris Jenner. While O.J. was still married to Nicole, O.J. later confessed to some interaction with Jenner in a jacuzzi, though Jenner herself denied an affair. Nicole's sister, Denise, also recounted witnessing O.J.'s violent outbursts, describing one such incident where he violently threw Nicole against the wall before ejecting both Nicole and herself from the house. Denise recalled being thrown out of the house, landing on her elbows as O.J. aggressively demanded they leave. Nicole later dialed 911 after another attack, reporting that O.J. had beaten her severely, causing injuries that required medical attention. Nicole described O.J.'s behavior during these violent episodes as animalistic, with his eyes turning cold and his veins bulging. However, for reasons not fully explained, Nicole agreed with O.J. to lie to doctors about the cause of her injuries, claiming she had fallen off a bike. After enduring years of abuse, Nicole eventually decided to end the relationship. Before their divorce was finalized in October 1992, Nicole wrote a letter to O.J., detailing how she had taken the blame for his infidelity over the years. In the letter, she expressed that she had forgiven him to the extent she could, hoping that this would mark the end of their tumultuous relationship. After their divorce, Nicole began to enjoy her new life as a single mother. She and her children had moved into a new, smaller house, which allowed her to focus on raising her kids without the constant stress of a marriage. The divorce cost O.J. Simpson a large amount of money in child support, around $433,500 each month, which allowed Nicole to live comfortably. Despite the separation, there were signs that a spark still existed between O.J. and Nicole. They sometimes tried to reconnect, especially between 1992 and October 1993. But these efforts proved to be unwise. O.J. had not changed, and phone conversations between him and Nicole showed that his anger and aggression remained strong. In fact, Nicole was increasingly worried because O.J. was becoming more controlling, and his behavior was turning into a serious disorder. She realized she needed to be more vocal about her fears, and confided in close friends that O.J. might even kill her and get away with it. Many people thought her fears were baseless, believing nothing such violence could happen, especially since they thought this had already occurred in 1993. The Simpson family attended the premiere of a movie called Naked Gun, and afterward, they took their children to visit friends named Chris and Caitlin and their family. By May 1994, Nicole was secretly preparing to end her relationship with O.J. for good. After a social event, Nicole received a call from her mother at 9:40, saying she had left her glasses at a restaurant where they had dinner. A friend of Nicole's named Ron Goldman, who worked at the restaurant, volunteered to bring the glasses to her house. Later that night, neighbors heard a dog barking loudly from Nicole's house. The neighbors were alarmed when they saw blood on the dog's feet, and noticed the dog seemed very agitated. They decided to follow the dog, and discovered a terrible scene. Nicole and Ron Goldman had been brutally murdered, lying in pools of their own blood. Nicole's head had been severed, and Ron Goldman had suffered a horrible knife wound. It was later confirmed that Nicole was killed while her children slept peacefully in the house. Nicole was laid to rest on June 16, 1994. After a funeral service that mourned the loss of a woman who had been trying to find her independence and safety amidst the chaos of her personal life. O.J. Simpson was immediately recognized as the main suspect in the brutal stabbing deaths of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend, Ronald Goldman. After the incident, it was reported that O.J. went into hiding to avoid surrendering to the authorities, especially after learning of the charges against him. Law enforcement agencies pursued him in a high-speed chase that lasted over an hour, keeping in mind that he was armed. Eventually, he was apprehended and tried for the murders. Simpson pleaded not guilty in court during his July 22, 1994 arraignment. The prosecution presented evidence of physical violence suffered by Nicole Brown before their divorce in 1992, using Simpson's past hostile behavior as a possible motive for the murders. Simpson's defense team, consisting of prominent lawyers such as F. Lee Bailey, Robert Blazier, and Alan Dershowitz, argued that the evidence had been tampered with, particularly by the prosecution led by Detective Mark Fuhrman. They claimed that Fuhrman planted leather gloves covered in blood at the scene, attempting to frame Simpson. The defense also argued that the gloves were too small to fit Simpson's hands, further asserting that the evidence was illegally planted. This argument was key in the trial, which became a public spectacle, with divided support for O.J. Simpson. On October 2, 1995, after a prolonged trial, Judge Lance Ito declared O.J. Simpson not guilty of the murders of Ronald Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. Simpson was immediately acquitted, though this verdict did not mark the end of the legal proceedings. A few months later, Toni Kitten, a woman with whom O.J. had an affair during his marriage to Nicole, came forward claiming that she had sensitive information about the murders. Kitten allegedly revealed that Simpson had confessed to her that he was responsible for the killings. The revelation raised further questions about why Kitten withheld this information, and only contacted a journalist shortly before her own death, hinting that people might prefer her dead, rather than let her memoir be released. Despite the criminal trial's outcome, the families of the victims sued O.J. Simpson for the deaths of their loved ones. In civil court, Simpson was found guilty of the murders and was sentenced to jail. Even after serving time and being released from prison, Simpson continued to face legal battles. Goldman's father sued Simpson for $96 million, and a jury awarded the families $35 million in damages. However, O.J. Simpson failed to pay the amount, declaring bankruptcy over the years. According to Goldman, Simpson had only paid a total of $133,000 in compensation, leaving the victims' families with unresolved grievances. During the tumultuous period of O.J. Simpson's trials, Brown's family took responsibility for his children, Justin and Sidney, after O.J. was acquitted. A custody arrangement had to be created, but this led to a heated and difficult dispute. The Browns struggled to give up custody, especially when O.J. sought full custody of his children. This situation resulted in a court case where a judge had to decide who would have custody. The judge ultimately ordered Justin and Sidney to live with their father in Brentwood. Winning custody was not easy for the Browns because courts usually prefer biological parents to have custody, especially in difficult cases. However, the judge's decision was a surprise because there was no strong evidence that O.J. had hurt his children. Despite the fact that there was significant evidence of abuse against O.J.'s late wife, the court focused on the lack of evidence showing he harmed his children. The Browns kept fighting for custody for 5 years, and they finally won in an appeal when the court recognized the serious circumstances of the murder case. In the end, guardianship was given to the Browns. Still, the children wrote a heartfelt letter to the appeals court, showing they wanted to stay with their father. This moved the Browns to withdraw their case and move with O.J. to Florida. Even after giving up custody, the Browns stayed in touch with O.J. because they loved their grandchildren. However, they had to hide their true feelings behind a mask of calm and dignity, as Brown's sister Tanya explained, emphasizing the need to keep up appearances regardless of the pain and complexity of the situation. The involvement of O.J. Simpson's son, Jason, in the murder of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman has been the subject of speculation over the years. In 2012, private detective William C. argued in his book, O.J. is innocent, and I can prove it, that Jason was the actual murderer. Jason Simpson, born in 1970, faced many struggles throughout his life. He was exposed to his father's affair with Nicole Brown at a young age, and the family claimed Jason had developmental and behavioral challenges, compounded by substance abuse starting at the age of 14. He also faced mental health issues and had a history of violent behavior. Records revealed that Jason had been arrested 4 times before the murders and had a tendency to engage in violent confrontations. He had attacked 2 of his girlfriends, one of whom he nearly killed. There were also incidents where Jason had drawn a knife in a confrontation with his boss. His violent tendencies and history of anger issues made him a prime suspect in the murders, as it was believed that Jason, unlike his father, had the skill to use a knife effectively. Jason had an anger disorder that led to frequent violent outbursts, and it was reported that he kept a journal filled with violent thoughts and desires to harm others. Physical evidence further tied Jason to the crime scene. A black knit navy watch cap, found at the scene, was not linked to O.J. Simpson, but matched Jason's style. In fact, a photo of Jason wearing the same cap from March 24, 1993, was found, showing him with his dog. Despite this, the police did not investigate Jason, as they focused solely on O.J., whose fingerprints and DNA did not match the evidence. Additionally, Ron Goldman's hands showed signs of a struggle, indicating that he may have fought with the attacker, but Jason appeared to be unscathed. Further examination of Jason's belongings revealed a collection of knives, including a blade similar to the one used in the murders. Experts noted that the wounds on the victims' heads matched the rear of Jason's knives, which were known for their distinct shapes. A classmate from the Army and Navy Academy confirmed that Jason had received special training in knife usage. This contrasted with O.J., who had no skill with knives and was reportedly disgusted by the sight of blood. The investigation also revealed that Jason had no alibi after 9:50 p.m. on the night of the murders, and he was alone. Despite this, the Los Angeles Police Department did not interview him, focusing their attention on O.J. Simpson instead. This raises the question of whether Jason Simpson could have been the real perpetrator, or if his father was wrongfully accused. After the death of Nicole Brown Simpson, and the subsequent trial of O.J. Simpson, her daughters faced immense struggles that deeply affected their mental health and personal lives. Arnell, the first daughter, was profoundly impacted emotionally by the events surrounding her mother's murder and her father's legal battles. To hide her pain, she developed a habit of spending large amounts of money on luxury items like bags and fashionable outfits. Her close relations revealed that during this difficult period, she also turned to alcohol as a way to cope. Her struggles sometimes led to heated conflicts with her father, who even considered marrying her off just to have her leave his house. Arnell also appeared as a witness during O.J. Simpson's first murder trial, and she later testified again in his 2008 robbery trial. Despite her efforts to rebuild her life and shed her father's shadow, the consequences of the trials continued to weigh heavily on her. She makes her living as a fashion show producer and a rapper, and she manages her father's estate. Additionally, she has shown support for her brother and is outspoken about her belief in her father's innocence. Nevertheless, her relationship with her father was often strained, especially over her lifestyle choices, which carried ongoing tension. Meanwhile, Cindy, the second daughter, experienced her own heartbreak from a very young age. She was only 8 years old when her mother, Nicole, was murdered, and her father was accused of the crime. This traumatic event left her feeling as though her life was overshadowed by her family's scandal. She has been vocal about her doubts, sometimes believing her father might have been responsible for her mother's death. To avoid media attention and public scrutiny, Cindy changed her name to Porsche in 2014, trying to create distance from her family's dark history. This act was likely a way for her to forge her own identity and find some peace. Living through the trauma of losing her mother at such a young age and enduring her father's legal troubles had to have taken a heavy psychological toll. Her decision to keep a low profile and stay out of the spotlight helped her protect her emotional well-being. By controlling her story and avoiding the media, she found a way to cope with a life marked by loss, guilt, and a need for independence. Both daughters' stories show how deeply the tragic murder and the infamous trial affected their lives, shaping their choices and their personalities as they navigated through a world full of pain and confusion. After serving time in prison, O.J. Simpson faced ongoing financial problems that drew significant attention. Despite his jail release, the legal issues surrounding him did not end. Goldman's father, whose son was a victim in the case connected to Simpson, decided to pursue legal action. He filed a lawsuit demanding a large sum of money, totaling $96 million, from Simpson. This was part of the ongoing efforts to seek justice and compensation for the harm caused. Ultimately, a jury listened to both sides and decided on the damages owed. They awarded the families of the victims a total of $35 million. However, even after winning the case, Simpson struggled to pay this amount. Over the years, he declared bankruptcy and did not make the payments he owed. Goldman's family maintained that Simpson only paid a very small amount of money, totaling just $133,000 throughout all these years. This situation highlighted Simpson's ongoing financial difficulties and his failure to settle the large amount awarded by the jury. Despite having been ordered to pay, he was unable to fulfill his financial obligations, which kept the case active and in the public eye. The story of Simpson's post-trial financial issues shows how he continued to face difficulties and controversies long after his time in prison. After the incident, O.J. Simpson went into hiding to avoid surrendering to the authorities. He was aware of the serious charges that could be brought against him, which included the murders of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman. Law enforcement agencies considered him dangerous because he was believed to be armed and considered a flight risk. Because of this, they organized a high-speed chase that lasted for over an hour. The chase was intense and highly publicized, with many watching as the police tried to stop him. O.J. Simpson was driving a white Ford Bronco during the chase, and his evasive actions drew worldwide attention. During this time, authorities worked to keep the situation under control, while trying to prevent any harm to Simpson or others. Eventually, Simpson was apprehended after the high-speed chase came to an end. His arrest marked the beginning of a lengthy legal process. He was later tried for the murders of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman, which became one of the most famous cases in American history. The trial attracted massive media coverage and public interest, with many eagerly following every development. O.J. Simpson's actions during the chase and the subsequent trial left a lasting mark on public consciousness, symbolizing the complex and often dramatic nature of high-profile criminal cases. Since the trial started on July 22, 1994, O.J. Simpson pleaded not guilty in court. During the court proceedings, the prosecution introduced evidence about the physical violence Browns suffered before their divorce in 1992. They argued that Simpson's past hostile behavior showed he had a motive for the murder. Simpson's defense team, which included well-known lawyers like F. Lee Bailey, Robert Blazier, Sha Chapman, Holly Robert Shapiro, Alan D. Ditz, and Robert Kardashian, worked hard to support him. The defense claimed that the evidence against Simpson had been tampered with, especially by the police, who were seen by the defense as biased and racist. Detective Mark Furman, a key figure in the investigation, had claimed he found bloodstained leather gloves at the defendant's home. The defense argued that this glove was too small to belong to O.J. Simpson, and that it was unlikely he left it there. They also suggested that the glove had been planted illegally to set him up for the crime. During the trial, the courtroom and the media made the case a huge public event. People were divided in their support, with some believing in Simpson's innocence and others believing he was guilty. As the trial drew more attention, the key players involved became famous in their own right. The case was marked by heated debates, intense media coverage, and passionate opinions on both sides. Throughout the trial, the question remained whether the evidence was genuine or part of a larger conspiracy to frame Simpson. The battle between the defense and the prosecution kept the courtroom tense, with each side presenting their strongest arguments. This complex and emotional case highlighted issues of race, justice, and media influence. Although the trial ended with a verdict, the story of O.J. Simpson's defense and the accusations of evidence tampering remained a major point of discussion long after the court's decision was made. On October 2, 1995, Judge Ito announced the verdict after a series of delays that lasted a day. The court declared O.J. Simpson not guilty of murdering Ronald Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. The decision surprised many because it came after a long and highly publicized trial that captured the attention of the nation. Once the verdict was read, Simpson was immediately acquitted and released, ending months of intense legal battles. However, the story did not end there. A few months later, Tawny Kitten, a woman with whom O.J. Simpson had an affair during his marriage to Nicole, came forward with startling claims. She said she possessed sensitive information related to Nicole Brown Simpson's murder, a piece of knowledge she intended to reveal only in her memoir. According to her, the son of Simpson had told her that O.J. had confessed to being responsible for the murders. This confession, if true, could have changed the course of the case, but it remains unclear why Kitten kept this information hidden for so long. It was also reported by a journalist named Heaton that Kitten had contacted the son several weeks before her death to share her secret. She allegedly told him that she feared she would be killed if her story was made public, implying that her life might be in danger if she revealed what she knew. The circumstances surrounding her death remain a topic of speculation, adding layers of mystery and controversy to the case. The complexities of the trial, the revelations from Tawny Kitten, and the fears she expressed all contribute to the ongoing debate about what truly happened that night, and whether justice was fully